Well, hello all. Today I'm going to show you how you can bend PVC piping using a hot air fryer. So I don't have a hot air gun, so I'm going to show you how you use the hot air from a hot air fryer. You also need a spring. I've got the spring from using a gym workout thing. You need some sort of spring to put in here. And I use a piece of string if I need to go and bend somewhere in the middle of the piece of PVC piping. I just lower the spring down to where I want to bend it. And the spring keeps it from closing the pipe. And then you're going to heat the pipe with your hot air fryer. And then we're going to bend it, maybe bend it around a pot to get the shape that we want. So let's show you how we make flatbread, which I find absolutely delicious. Ooh, I love my flatbread with a bit of jam and butter. And while that's cooking, let's show you how we bend this PVC pipe. So to make flatbread, one needs a bowl, one needs half a cup of water. Then I throw in sunflower oil so that it's about 2 tablespoons, so that it just covers the surface of the water. If the water surface is not covered, I just add a touch more oil till it covers the whole surface. Then I fill the bowl with white cake flour, get a spoon, just push the flour into the oil and water like this. And I can see that it's still a little bit too runny, so we add a bit more flour. You want the dough soft. That's quite crucial, that the dough is soft but not sticky. So that's looking pretty good. Throw out some flour to roll. I roll it out on, this is a deep freeze. And here you can see I'm just mixing in the dough a little bit more to get all the flour on the bottom. That looks great. You don't have to. So now I get a piece of fairly soft dough, and then I get something to roll it with. I like to use my flask. This is a thermos flask. Turn it over so that it spreads. Now you see how that dough is spreading. That looks fairly perfect. I'm going to cut it in half. And then I'm going to roll this piece to the size of my air fryer, trying to get it as round as possible. So there is my piece of dough. We get the air fryer basin. And we place this dough into the air fryer. So there is the dough inside the air fryer. What I find is that when the air fryer begins to blow, it blows the dough up. So I put a scissors on top of it to hold it down. And now let's get air frying. So here's our air fryer. I'm plugging it in. I'm putting this in there and turning that on. Air is going to blow out of the back of the air fryer. So that's going to take a while to cook. It takes about 3 minutes or so to cook each piece of the bread, and it takes a little while for the air fryer to warm up. So in the meantime, I get rolling my second piece ready for the air fryer. Basically, you just want a round piece of dough, flat as possible, that will fit into the air fryer. And if it's not perfectly round, you just cut off a little bit. And there's our next piece waiting to go in to the air fryer. So now, the air fryer gets a bit covered with white flour, excuse the look of it. Let's get bending our piece of PVC piping. So here is the front of the air fryer where the hot air comes out of. So I take my piece of PVC piping. So I'm going to bend it here. I place it in front of the hot air and I keep turning it a little bit. So, sorry, I'm moving this around a little. So here is the point that I want to bend. It's just more or less in the middle. So I'm turning this. So while my flatbread is cooking, I'm warming up this PVC plastic. And the plastic has got the spring in it, and the spring is going to stop it from closing when I bend it. Now, you'll know when it's soft by the fact that this plastic will start to show signs of wanting to bend. So I'm applying a little bit of pressure to it, and look, you can see that it's already starting to bend a little bit. You can move it along if you want to bend a different area, so you don't apply too much pressure to just one piece of the PVC plastic and make that super thin. So now I can bend my next piece, and then I move along a little bit more. I'm trying to heat evenly all parts of this pipe. So that you don't have some piece of plastic that is cold and another piece of plastic that is hot. And as I'm bending it, I can feel when it wants to bend. And there we have our 90-degree angle. You can see there's some slight impressions of the spring. And so there I've got my bend in the PVC pipe, and now I just pull out my spring, and there's our bent piece of PVC piping. If I wanted to just make it more 90 degrees, I could heat it a little bit more. even without the spring, and just get it to be a more acute angle. And there we go. So let's have a look how our bread is doing. So you see it's getting browner. So there is no real need to turn it over. I'm not sure how many minutes that's been going for, but I would give it 1 more minute maybe, and then it will be done. In the meantime, there is again our piece of PVC pipe that got bent through 90 degrees, and you'll see that it's got no particular, if you do it carefully, you don't get these kinks. There, that was done carefully, that didn't have any kinks. That was done fairly carefully, no kinks in this part or in here. So it's just a matter of doing it carefully so that you don't get any kinks in it, and it's still nice and open, so you can easily get a pipe through there. If you wanted to get a pipe through here, you can drop a piece of string with a nut down through this pipe and then pull your piece of piping through here, or you can put some soapy liquid soap down this pipe and push your wiring through. That all of those things help to get your wiring through the pipe. So now our piece of flatbread is just about done. Let's just move this here and show you. So the scissors is going to be hot, so you have to pick it up with something like that. You take your flatbread out, you look at the back, it feels a little bit soft. It's not quite done on the back, so I'm turning it over and I'm going to give it half a minute on that side. Sometimes, I mean, most of the time it's not necessary to, give it to cook the other side, but you will get a more even cook if you do cook it on both sides. And always the first slice, the oven is still warming, the hot air fryer is still warming up, so it does take a little bit longer. The subsequent pieces will cook faster. So we'll give this half a minute more. Just want to show you what's the perfect sort of consistency for this flatbread. This is a long process, but I can still feel it feels a bit soft here, so I'm going to give it even longer. As I say, the first piece takes a bit longer because the air fryer is still warming up. It takes a while for the air fryer to get hot, and that is why your first piece of flatbread always takes a slight bit longer. So this is going to make us about, I guess this was about 1 cup of flour, half a cup of water, and about 2 tablespoons of oil. That's all there is in it. This is going to make us at least about 10 or 12 pieces of flatbread. Oh, this stuff is so delicious with jam and butter. So there's our flatbread is done. I take the scissors off. I take the flatbread out. Just look at that deliciousness. My word, is that just too gorgeous. Put it on a plate. I get the next piece of flatbread, throw it in, spread it out. There's what the next piece looks like. I put the scissors again on top just to stop the hot air blows the pancake up. Put that in there and again cook it. And now I think we're ready to have some flatbread. So let's get some butter and jam. Jam, butter, you can let it cool down or you can have it hot, whichever you prefer. I just have cold butter cuts, and I just cut thin slices off it. You can see it's beginning to melt there. Bit of apricot jam, my favorite, apart from jams which I make myself like Syzygium. Spread it over the flatbread. You don't need too much jam, otherwise it gets too sweet. That may be a bit too much jam. So, that's gorgeous. Let's go and eat that. This truly is one of my favorite foods. Flatbread with butter and jam. We're 10 days into 2024, the new year. Are you keeping up with your New Year resolutions? I am. I only made one resolution. That resolution was to stop wasting my time watching so much TV and to rather watch more YouTube videos or go online more and find information that is relevant and interesting. So I used to spend hours a day watching the news. And you sometimes ask yourself, why am I watching the local news? But I still spend, I like to get up early in the morning and spend from 6 to 7 listening to the local South African news. We have SABC and we have Newsroom Africa. And so I catch up on what's happening in South Africa and perhaps a little bit of BBC news. This is what we have on satellite. And what did I come away with from today's news, which I threw an hour at? I came away with, some interesting stuff. It's not necessarily all that important. It's the South African banks were let off. There was some sort of, there's some sort of currency fixing. And then ANC Secretary Fikile Mbalula had put his foot in his mouth and he'd said, former President Jacob Zuma, we protected him over his fire pool. Why isn't he paying us back with his loyalty? So that's a bit of a scandal going on. And what else happened on the news today? Oh yes, Ladysmith, a town in KwaZulu-Natal, is underwater again. It was underwater on Christmas Day. It seems like it's more underwater. And then Eskom, our power utility, is devolving into 3, and they're going to have 1 unit as just for transmission lines. And I'm thinking, I'm thinking as far as the transmission lines are concerned, they want to get 1,500 kilometers of new lines every year, and so far they only have 500 kilometers of new lines a year. And I'm thinking, well, why don't you just go the route of solar panels and renewable resources? Forget putting in new lines. That's just my feeling. I mean, they may have a valid point. As far as I'm concerned, Eskom should wrap up. Everyone's getting off the grid and going for solar panels and batteries and so on. So that's, I'm not here to criticize the news. I'm just thinking, is it interesting or not? And then what else was happening that I can think of? There's a few trials, there's a few dead people, funerals, which frankly don't really concern me. And yeah, South Africa is taking Israel to the International Court tomorrow. And that is interesting that little old South Africa is accusing Israel of war crimes. And to me, what I'm thinking is the biggest threat to Israel's national security is not Hamas or Hezbollah. It's actually Benjamin Netanyahu, because he's making Israel so unpopular in the world by unnecessarily using planes to bomb buildings. Why doesn't he just go in, send the troops in, and, you know, maybe a grenade here or there to flush out pockets of resistance? But you have to bomb whole buildings with obviously innocent people in it. So good for South Africa for taking Israel to the ICC. It's frankly Netanyahu is the problem, not the Jews worldwide who are getting unpopular, and Israel is also getting unpopular worldwide due to Benjamin Netanyahu, who wasn't popular before this war started anyway, and they should have booted him out. So anyway, I'm just catching up on the local news, and I've thrown an hour at it. I might have been in the past spent another hour or two on news, but frankly, there's many news sites online that you can get specific news, and international news, which is far more interesting than South African news, and see what's going on around the world. So I've caught up with my news, and what am I going to do with all that time? Well, I've been studying particle physics, the standard model of particle physics. I've been catching up on that. You'll see it behind me on the board. So almost anything is better to spend one's time on than to watch. Well, look, I do watch a lot of useless television. I enjoy it. It's great. I'm not complaining about it. I can watch a lot of Judge Judy, but I've seen all those programs before. So rather go online and look at episodes I haven't seen. I can watch a lot of MMA, mixed martial arts. I threw a whole day at it, 24 hours solid watching, I guess you could say, bums beat each other up. I could be called a waste of time. And so much time is wasted in the prelim to those MMA matches, so that it's better to go on YouTube and just catch the highlights, the 50 best knockouts of 2023 in MMA, and you can catch them all in half an hour, and you don't have to waste your time, 24 hours waiting for the match. Then there's a boring fight, and then finally at the end, some guy slugs another guy, and he's or puts him in a chokehold, and then the match ends. So please don't criticize my TV viewing. I'm sure a lot of it is a total waste of time, but these days I'm doing other things. I'm trying to find more useful things to do, like studying the Cambrian explosion and paleontology. I've been devoting a lot of time and seeing there's so much good stuff on YouTube to watch. I just love it. And what else have I been watching? I know a lot of stand-up comedy, which is live at the Apollo. While these comics are quite funny, the issues they discuss are so mundane, so boring, so everyday, so useless. I recently got married. I've got a kid. The kid's a terrible kid. Or I got married and my husband's, and blah, 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 talking about how slagging off the husband. Or I'm not married, I'm single. And people think I'm lonely. Yes, I'm terribly lonely. Oh, man. It's just, I walk away with some of it is funny. but it's just a total waste of time. Or I'm Muslim, I've got a beard, everyone thinks that I'm a jihadist. You know, I live in Britain, and that's his comedy act. And you know, you just come away, as funny as it might be, you've learned nothing. You've wasted an hour on this stuff. So at least on YouTube, you got a fast forward button. On satellite TV, or I guess people in the US would call it cable, they have cable TV, not satellite TV. You know, you need some means to fast forward or flick to something else. Okay, so we do have a remote on our TV, but if there's nothing on anywhere, you can always find something useful on YouTube or the internet. So that's my New Year resolution, is to spend my time more valuably. And it's not going to change the world. It's not going to make the world a better place. It's not going to do anything. But hey, that's just my resolution. I just think I'd rather do almost anything. I'd rather be forced to sit and think, today I must do something, because I'm not going to watch TV. I'm not going to waste all that time just watching TV. And I like watching TV. I can spend the whole day watching. If it's good TV, you give me good TV. It's Bear Grylls, Running Wild with Bear Grylls, or it's Preppers, or it's Mountain Men, or it's, you know, Air Crash Investigation, or it's, there's so much good TV that if I had a better, you know, if I was prepared to pay more for it, yeah, but you can get a lot of that stuff on YouTube anyway. So I'm just trying to maximize the value that in the time that I'm spending. It'd be better for me to go and hack, or go and collect firewood, or do something, go and garden, go and get a hobby, go and fix something. I'm just trying to just make better use of my time. And so far, 10 days into the year, I haven't broken my resolution. If I do, I just repent, and the next day spend my time more wisely. So that is that was my resolution, and I hope that you've got some good ones. Maybe if you haven't got one, you could also decide to spend your time more usefully, and yeah, maybe watch less TV, or watch more better TV, or there's so much good stuff on YouTube. So I hope this has been useful.